J-Bone here, and it is time to recap and review the unforgettable 2024 Formula One British Grand Prix that, I'm not gonna lie folks, I shed a tear after, and here's why. Lewis Hamilton just had one of the most iconic race wins in motorsport history. Mercedes F1 team driver Lewis Hamilton is regarded by many as the greatest racing driver of all time. He holds the solo records for most F1 wins, pole positions, podium finishes, and plenty of other things. And he's tied with Michael Schumacher for most F1 World Drivers' Championships with 7. Now, that championship number could have been 8, except the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix happened. Lewis was about to win that race and that year's Drivers' Championship until the most controversial decision in the history of F1 took both away from him and gave them to Max Verstappen instead. Many people thought Lewis might retire after all that happened, but he came back the following year ready for vengeance, only to find that his Mercedes team designed an absolute potato of a car that was so bad and poorly developed relative to the other top teams that Lewis, who had never gone longer than 10 Grand Prix without a win in his whole career, would go 56 races without a win from Abu Dhabi 2021 through the 2024 Austrian Grand Prix. If you know Lewis Hamilton though, you know he never gives up. And at this past weekend's British Grand Prix, Lewis's home race that he'd won 8 times prior, Lewis had an incredible drive and took advantage of some McLaren mistakes and went on to win the race to end his losing streak, set a new record for the most wins by a driver at a single circuit at 9, and remind the world to never give up. Lewis broke down in tears after crossing the finish line because he thought he would never win again, and coincidentally, my wife must have been chopping onions at the same time because I too shed a tear while listening to Lewis talk to his race engineer Bono. You do not have to be a Lewis fan to have gotten emotional watching one of the GOATs return to glory after the hardest period of his career. Lewis Hamilton's P1 at his home race after 2.5 winless years will go down as one of the most iconic race wins in F1 history, and we were all witnesses. Speaking of being a witness, if you're currently witnessing the Dance of Dragons by way of the hit HBO show House of the Dragon, you need to check out the #1 House of the Dragon podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. I promise that you will not be disappointed with their hilarious and insightful episode recaps and previews. I used to be their full-time producer, so you know that it's J-Bone approved. So check out Oysters, Clams, and Cockles on whatever platform you're currently taking in this episode of Formula Bone. Now, let's break down the 2024 F1 British Grand Prix's full finishing order. Lewis Hamilton, of course, won the race, ending a 2.5-year-long F1 losing streak at his home Grand Prix with what Lewis calls the most emotional win of his entire F1 career that now includes 104 Grand Prix victories. P2 went to Max Verstappen. This P2 finish for Max follows up his P5 finish in Austria, marking the first time Max Verstappen has lost back-to-back races in 2 years, which is absolutely wild. P3 and P4 went to the McLarens of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri in that order. Despite looking decent on paper, this is actually a highly disappointing result for the Papayas, who may have been on for a 1-2 finish before the McLaren pit wall messed up a bunch of things. I'll be talking all about McLaren's race later, so stay tuned. P5 went to Carlos Sainz, who had a solid drive and was also able to steal the fastest lap point at the end of the race. P6, amazingly, went to Haas's Nico Hülkenberg for the second race in a row. Nico is hands down the most impressive driver in Formula One right now after what he's been able to do the last 2 races in a row in a Haas car that, on paper, should be fighting for top 10s, not top 5s. P7 and P8 went to the Aston Martins of Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, yes, in that order, as Lance continues his recent run of outperforming his more experienced teammate Fernando Alonso. I really do wonder how much money Lance's billionaire dad, who owns the team, is paying Alonso to tank to make his son look good. Probably a lot. P9 went to Alex Albon, giving Williams some much-needed points at their home Grand Prix, and hopefully sparking the beginning of a turnaround for arguably the season's most disappointing team. P10 went to Yuki Tsunoda, who's back in the points after 3 Grand Prix weekends in a row out of them. Finishing out of the points, you had P11, Logan Sargent, on 4th of July weekend, no less. Sad. And they made him have the Union Jack car. Very rude. P12, Kevin Magnussen. P13, Danny Rick. P14, Leclerc. Yikes. P15, Bottas. P16, Ocon. P17, Checo. Mega yikes. P18, Joe. A depressing DNF for pole sitter George Russell due to a water system issue, and a DNS for Gasly, who had a gearbox issue during the formation lap. Summer is seersucker suit season. Try saying that 5 times fast. And whether you want to go seersucker like me this summer, or you want a different style of summer suit, Visit Indochino.com and use code FBONE to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. Indochino is your style partner for made-to-measure, totally customizable men's and women's wear for wedding season and beyond. I always feel great wearing Indochino's garments to weddings and other events because they fit me just right, as they were literally custom made using my exact body measurements. How? You set up your measurement profile with Indochino in less than 10 minutes by measuring yourself from the comfort of your own home or making an appointment at one of their showrooms. I did the latter, and it was a super enjoyable and quick experience. You then place your suit order, including any special customizations to buttons, pockets, and more, and they do the rest before delivering a custom suit right to your door. Again, I love their seersucker suit options, but if you want any style of high-quality bespoke suit at an affordable price you can't beat, hit up Indochino. Customize your summer style with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com and use code FBONE to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's 10% off at Indochino.com with code FBONE. Next up, here's how my 3 bona fide British Grand Prix race predictions ended up. My first race prediction was that Max Verstappen would not win the British Grand Prix, and ding ding, J-Bone got that one right. J-Bone knew that McLaren and Mercedes were just too well positioned for solid Silverstone weekends for a Max win to be likely, and J-Bone was dead on. Max finished P2, but he honestly could have finished a legit P5 if McLaren didn't pull a Ferrari by messing everything up for themselves and George Russell's water system didn't yabba dabba destroy itself mid-race. My second race prediction was that Oscar Piastri would finish on the podium at the British Grand Prix, and he would have if the McLaren pit wall didn't completely ruin my prediction by having Oscar stay out on track instead of bringing him in for a double-stack pit stop behind Lando, with Oscar losing so much time on his in-lap driving on slick tires around a wet track that he was not able to recover back onto the podium by the end of the race. Again, I'll be talking all about McLaren here shortly, so stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss that. My third race prediction was that Fernando Alonso would finish in the points at the British Grand Prix, and ding ding, J-Bone also got that one right. J-Bone. Once again, my theory that Aston Martin and Lance Stroll owner Lawrence Stroll will not allow his team to put up embarrassing results in important races holds true, as not only did Alonso finish in the points at Aston Martin's home race, but so did Lance Stroll, as Aston Martin was one of just 2 teams to have a double points finish at Silverstone. Lawrence Stroll remains undefeated. That puts me at 19 for 37 for the season thus far with my predictions, so I am now back above 50% for the season. And guess what, folks? Guess what? I'm going to follow up this nearly perfect showing by going 3 for 3 when I give you all my eagerly anticipated Hungarian Grand Prix race predictions, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel so that you can see those predictions right when they drop next week. Also, while you're at it, toss this video a like, because I'm trying to get over 1,500 likes on this video so that YouTube likes me more. Now let's get you caught up on what else you need to know from this crazy British Grand Prix weekend. First, the thing I can't stop hyping up. McLaren cannot stop throwing away Formula 1 wins right now, and it's getting concerning. First, there was the Canadian Grand Prix, where McLaren had to make a split-second decision about whether to pit Lando Norris or not under the safety car, and their decision not to ended up costing him the win there. Then there was the Spanish Grand Prix, where Lando Norris's poor race start from pole position ended up costing him the win there. Then there was the Austrian Grand Prix, where, in the end, Max Verstappen ruined Lando's chance at a race win there, but you could make the case that Lando could have still won there with superior racecraft. An optimist can look at the 3 races before the British Grand Prix and call the Canada loss bad luck, the Spain loss a simple mistake, and the Austria loss Max's fault, but not even the biggest McLaren-biased person of all time, aka Zach Brown, can look at what just happened at Silverstone and make any excuses other than incompetence. Starting on lap 20, the McLaren cars were running 1 and 2 and looked to be the 2 fastest cars on track on the medium tires, with a 1-2 finish squarely in their sights. However, everything went to crap around 5 laps later when rain started falling and it was time to switch from the slicks to the rain tires. Because the 2 McLarens were so close together, they had 3 options. Either Oscar could slow down and create a gap to Lando to give the McLaren pit crew enough time for a seamless double-stack pit stop, Oscar could follow Lando into the pits without creating a gap and lose a few seconds waiting behind Lando, or Lando could come in and Oscar could stay out on track and hopefully not lose too much time before coming in for his pit stop the following lap. Welp. McLaren decided to pit Lando and leave Oscar out on track, and it completely ruined Oscar's race as he lost so much time driving around on slicks in wet conditions that he came out of the pits P6 instead of P2 or P3 after his pit stop. All hope was not lost for McLaren though, as Lando was still on for the race win. That is, until his final pit stop, when the McLaren pit wall inexplicably let Lando decide which tires to put on instead of making the call themselves. Lando chose the softs when the team knew the mediums would be better because they had way more information than him because they're on the pit wall looking at stuff and he's driving a car. To make matters worse, Lando then overshot the pit box coming in, leading to a slow stop that Lando came out of on the wrong tires and behind Lewis Hamilton already. By the end of the race, Lando's soft tires were no match for Max's more durable and warmed up hards, and Lando will get passed by Max and finish P3 when a win, for the fourth race in a row for him and McLaren, looked to be the most likely outcome at one point. Are McLaren the new Ferrari? It's sure starting to look that way, and I do not say that lightly, okay? Let me know your thoughts on McLaren's current streak of near wins in the comments. Go comment right now. Go do it. Please comment. Thank you. Next, two of Formula One's most popular drivers look absolutely terrible right now. The craziest sight at this past weekend's British Grand Prix was not Lewis Hamilton atop the podium, it was Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen both lapping their teammates Charles Leclerc and Checo Perez. Leclerc and Checo are two of F1's most popular drivers and two of F1's most recent race winners, yet both of them are in arguably the worst form of their entire careers at the moment. Despite being in one of the fastest cars on the grid, Checo has not finished in the top 6 in the last 6 races and has shockingly been eliminated in Q1 in 3 of the last 5 Grand Prix. That is inexcusable. All of this is coming immediately after Checo signed a contract extension with Red Bull that looks more and more likely to be ripped up sometime this season if Checo keeps this up. And while it's not as dire as the Checo situation, Leclerc's also been having a rough go as of late. Ever since his win in Monaco 5 races ago, Leclerc only has 1 Grand Prix points finish after starting the season off with 8 top 4 finishes in a row. Give me your thoughts on the current Checo and Leclerc situations in the comments, because I honestly just do not know what to think about these two right now. Next up, we're officially halfway through the 2024 F1 season, so let's check in on how things are going. And overall, I'd say things are going incredible. Formula One is more balanced top to bottom right now than it has been in a very long time, which is evidenced by the fact that 8 of Formula One's 10 teams just finished in the top 10 at Silverstone. Additionally, Formula One is also more balanced just at the top than it has been in a very long time, which is evidenced by the fact that Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes all have at least 1 win this season, and they would all have at least 2 wins if McLaren stopped blowing these opportunities. We had 3 different race winners all of last season, and we already have double that in just the first half of this season, so yeah, things are going pretty good right now. 6 winners through 12 races, people. Your brain in 2023 would not be able to comprehend that. In the 2024 World Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen does still have a commanding lead over the field that he can't lose even if he sits out the next 3 races. But there is still plenty of time left for this lead of his to dwindle and maybe even be neutralized if McLaren continue to develop their superfast car and also stop throwing away would-be wins. This is especially true considering Max is going to have to start taking grid penalties here soon given how fast he's burning through car components. The 2024 World Constructors' Championship is far more exciting. At the top, it's truly anybody's game for World Constructors' Champion across Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, given how many points are still up for grabs. In the middle, it's also anybody's game as far as best of the rest is concerned, with Aston Martin, V-Carb, and Haas all firmly in the mix. And at the bottom, you have Kick, Williams, and Alpine all trying to get not last, which is almost more fun to watch than the other battles. All in all, halfway through the 2024 season, I firmly declare this to be the best season of Formula One since 2021, and I cannot wait to see how it ends. Let me tell you about my sponsor, Shopify. Shopify is the best all-in-one commerce platform capable of handling your business's complexity no matter how big you grow. Step up to Shopify and harness the best converting checkout and the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands like Ruggable and Allbirds. Why spend time trying to build an online store with someone besides Shopify when Shopify stores convert the best? That's a rhetorical question. You shouldn't be. You should be using Shopify. One thing I love about Shopify is that it integrates with YouTube, which just goes to show that they are very forward-thinking when it comes to selling products in the modern digital age. Stop leaving sales on the table, switch your business to Shopify, and discover why millions trust Shopify as their all-in-one commerce platform to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/fbone, all lowercase, very important. That's 1 month for just $1 at shopify.com/fbone, shopify.com/fbone, that's FBONE. Finally today, Formula One finally has a new driver. Congratulations to Ferrari reserve driver Ollie Bearman on being named one of Haas F1 team's 2 full-time drivers for the 2025 F1 season. You may remember Ollie Bearman as the driver I prophetically told you to remember the name of in May of last year when he had a perfect weekend in F2, or more recently, as the driver who filled in for Ferrari's Carlos Sainz at the last second in Saudi Arabia earlier this year and went on to finish P7 on debut there. Either way, you now know him as a 2025 Haas F1 team Formula 1 driver, and thank goodness. This Formula 1 season was the first in the history of F1 to not feature a single full-time rookie driver, and F1 needs highly regarded rookie drivers to spice things up, first off, but also to keep the sport's future looking bright. So I'm super happy to see the electrifying Ollie Bearman get his shot in F1, especially given the trajectory that Haas are on right now, where they're looking like they could be fighting for best of the rest next season, if not this season. Bearman is the first of what may be 3 rookie drivers to join the grid for 2025, with Bearman's F2 Prema teammate Kimi Antonelli, a Mercedes junior driver, staking his claim to take Logan Sargent or Lewis Hamilton's seat by the start of next season at the latest, with a win at the Silverstone sprint race this past weekend, and also Alpine reserve driver Jack Doohan is set up to potentially replace the departing Esteban Ocon, who is rumored to be joining Bearman at Haas next season. I'll keep you updated on all the silly season news as it unfolds, folks. Special shout out to my top YouTube channel members, Joe Max's number 1 hitter Snow, Brian Linton, Wolf Loves Racing, Wavalopicus, and David Hake. Mash that join button just below this video to get your name shouted out right here in future videos. Don't forget to toss me a subscription so that you can see me back here for my Hungarian Grand Prix preview next week. And until then, folks, J-Bomb! J-Bomb!